Hey guys, Youthful Yields here. Today we're going to be going over the portfolio for the week. So to start, the week was kind of slow, not going to be honest. Obviously, it was Christmas, so there was an early close on the 24th on Wednesday, and obviously market was closed on the 25th for the U.S. markets. So there's that. So we didn't have a full week, but yeah, the S&P 500 did actually see pretty good numbers despite that, but it just didn't budge a lot. And we can see that kind of here. We can see that the 7-week went up about 1.42%. Actually, I guess it did do pretty well this last week, but I was thinking of Friday. Friday basically didn't move, like nothing really moved. So, in fact, we could probably see that if I switch this to 1 day. Yeah, so pretty low numbers, but overall, looks like the S&P 500 beat us this week, which kind of sucks, but it is what it is. Overall, though, we're ending off the year with 15% on our total portfolio. It looks like the S&P 5 or the Google Sheets is not playing with us today. Unfortunately, there's a couple days that are missing, and that's just nothing can really do. What I am thinking of maybe doing is actually giving or like actually not using Google Finance, because that's where these are all priced from, and instead probably just inputting the data myself. And the reason why I would like to do that is because of this. The only problem is, I have to do that. It's like an additional step every day. But outside of that, though, we are actually still beating it in the 30-day window. You can see we're up 8.53%. For the total portfolio, and actually just Composer itself almost up 5%, where this is just 4.4. So M1 Finance did a lot, and obviously Webull did a lot as well. But this last week, Webull went up 7%, M1 Finance 1.34, Composer 0.69, total portfolio was 1.28, and SPY was 1.42. So yeah, pretty nice to end off the year. I guess technically we have 3 more days of the year in December. So we'll see how those do. But yeah, going into each of the individual ones, we have a few things here. So first of all, I can't remember. I don't think I did. No, I did. So I guess I put all of these in last time. You can see on the 18th. And so these have all done pretty dang good, I have to admit. You can see that we're all up positive on these. And yeah, nothing to really say there except that we're doing good. Yeah. But I'm going to continue with these. Most of these are here just for testing purposes. So, if I go here, we can see here, this is my current portfolio. And if I go actually here, we can see a little bit more in depth on each of these. So, yeah, the CAGR is obviously a little bit not truthful because it's only been, a week or so with these, but maybe not for the Reigns Concise. But that one's actually showing a CAGR of 74%, which is pretty nice. And if we go to the account stats, this is what we see here. So still have a long time to go. It's a lot of work to do because we messed around so much. If you take a look here at our adjusted returns since we started the account in April, you can see that really we haven't actually hit the all-time high. So we actually are in a drawdown right now, but the max drawdown that we saw here was only 6% apparently. So yeah, but I'm just tracking these, and if we go to IC stats, I believe these should probably be somewhat computed. So yeah, there's a few of these that are actually really interesting. First of all, the Reigns Concise did actually go up a little bit. My guess is because we were kind of holding the same general stuff, and now we're not. So if we actually go back here and go to account stats, you can see the current allocation is XLK, EM, and TLT. But yeah, overall, pretty nice. But in between there, we did kind of go off our, common path, and that's where the risk score kind of went up. So Yeah, and again, these are shifting every so often, so especially with it being only a week and a half ish, that's these scores aren't final or anything, but some of these are pretty interesting, especially this beam one. This is done really well. If I come over here and go to overview and go to performance, we can see the highest one are minimum variance, park your money. Well, yeah, you can see here, but already this one minimum variance has actually gone up almost 6%, which is crazy. If we take a look at that here on, my bad, on here, this is the backtest that's shown here. So where is that? Minimum variance shows 73%. And this one came out, I think, in, yeah, March 22nd of this year. And it's matching its backtest very well. You can see that's what this BTOS ratio is. And so that's doing really well. And that's why I picked most of these, actually, is because that ratio is pretty high. But yeah. And then that beam one that I was talking about, that actually has a decently low risk score. Seemingly is actually pretty nice. You can see that that one has done really well on its CAGR and OOS CAGR as well. So potentially a little bit more overfit, as well as some of these don't go back very far. If you go to first backtest date, you can see that uh excuse me, that beam one is only back to 2021 in November, so really only what, 4 years of data there. So yeah, it might show that only have a max runoff of 6.41%, but that actually might not be the case because, well, that is the case, but going forward, we actually don't know, right? But all of these are using ETFs and no single stocks, and they're all pretty nice setup. You know, their risk score or their overguard score is actually pretty low. The highest one, I believe, is 22, and that's actually the one we're running right now. I tried aiming for all below 20, so that's one thing. And then I tried aiming for anything that would be at least 80 within 80% backtest ratio. Um, on its OOS, and then as well as anything that would beat SPY back to 2007, which I think had something like a 12% annualized return or something like that. So yeah, overall pretty nice. We can see here that though technically this is actually below my thing, which is kind of interesting. It's still not doing bad. Like 42% is still really good, but that's not really the point, right? It's whether or not you're actually getting close to your CAGR that's showing. So a lot of these aren't very. So this one also is actually pretty new in terms of OOS. If we go back to the oldest one here, we can see it's this QLD, FTLT, yada yada yada. This one's actually really interesting because it's pretty simple logic. There's a little bit of stuff that's interest like in between there, but also this one goes back to 2007. So this is the oldest actually, and this current one. The other one is this range concise. The other ones don't really go back that far. We have 3 in 2011 and then 2 in the 2020s. So, but this is interesting. Obviously, it's not crazy returns. Like 31% is still amazing, but it's not like 100% like this one, for example. But also, if you were to do a quant stats report on this one, from 2021, it very well could be that high. It's just a matter of, whether or not you're actually counting the entire span. So, yeah. That being said, yeah, I don't know. I'm just gonna keep my eye on these. All of them are within an interesting amount of risk. The only one that I would consider that maybe dropping would be these two. I mean, they have very high returns, but you can see that the correlation on some of them aren't very close. Like, for example, if I open up this one, I mean, it's not terrible, but yeah, I don't know. I'll keep my eye on it. I at least want to try to keep stuff for a month before I determine whether or not they're good. And in fact, I actually created a folder for that, low deviation, and I have most of these here. Some of these have high overguard scores because they might be overfit. That being said, it doesn't mean that they can't have close matching data. Because we only test it for a month, it only gives us a month of data. So I hope that makes sense. But you can see all of their backtest stuff is relatively similar there, but more. But I'm the backtest OOS ratio is completely different from the risk stuff that we see on this one. This is solely for deviation of live to the backtests. So anyhow, let's move on to M1 Finance. So if we come over here to invest and go to the last week, let me come over here. So the biggest gain was not that. The biggest gain was from semiconductors. You can see the largest one there was from NVIDIA, 5% up, which is pretty nice. Then consumer discretionary, largest one there was Amazon. And then last but not least, in the highest, we have Morgan Stanley. And on the opposite side of things, consumer staples was the only sector that we actually had a negative performance on, and the majority of that was coming from PepsiCo. After that, we had industrials. The most negative one there was Honeywell, and they just actually had a recent jump not too long ago, so that's probably just mean reversion. So then there's this with Apple, just slightly down. So in terms of recent dividends, I believe we were expecting a couple. I think the only one that we got was actually from NVIDIA here for 6 cents. So there's that. And I don't recall us having any more for the rest of this year. I can't remember. According to this, there is a pending one for about $5. Yeah, let's see. We have some actually here, but I think technically the only one that's going to be paid out are these two, Prologis and AVGO. And that comes out to about, I think, close to $5. So this one is from December, but it gets paid out a month later, and that's from Pepsi, but that's about $5 as well. So last but not least on this thing, we can see total gain. So AMD still rocking at 95, Google at 90, crazy, and AVGO at 45, still very good. Obviously, that had a huge drop the last couple of weeks, but still very good. We're up 16%, or almost $4,000, so that's pretty cool. AMT, unfortunately, not doing too hot, as well as Costco and Procter & Gamble. We've been through this, and some of these other ones just kind of jump back and forth like these last three. There's some other ones that are questionable, but yeah, I don't know. I think we just give it time. A lot of these are in similar sectors, so it's just one of those things that the sector might just not be doing very good right now, and so we just have to give it a little bit of time. So yeah. Last but not least, in the portfolios, we have Webull. So if we take a look here in the last week, you can see here we had a 0.27% gain, then another 8% almost, and then down 1%, and then down 0.19. Very good for this last week. We can see that we are actually up around, we're at 735, which is super great. Obviously, we're slowly going back up there. If we look at, where does that show it? We're at 42% down still, but every day we're getting closer and closer. I just saw an article today. Maybe this is just because of what I'm searching and whatnot, and Google doing this thing. But I saw one that was like, oh, what if what MSTR falling means for crypto kind of thing. And I also saw on that same article there was like a Polymarket thing, whether or not Bitcoin would reach 80K or 100K first. Right now it's at 50-50-ish. I think it's at around 72%. I don't even know what I just did. But if we look at BTC right now, we can see that it's at 87,000. I don't think there's a very large chance that this goes up to 100K. We're not super far from it, but 100K. Last time we were around 100K was probably right there. Let's see, right? Yeah, around November 13th. So we're down about 15% since then. I don't know. I just don't see it doing very good. I think it's slowly starting to shift out to its like cyclical downturn. is pretty common for this, as well as it's just kind of, uh, I think MSTR not doing very hot is actually adding to the fire, but I think it will balance out eventually. I'm not against Bitcoin, just to throw that out there. I'm just against MSTR. But anyhow, guys, that is it for me. And yeah, I hope all you guys had a very good Christmas for those that celebrate it, or just, a very good holiday in general. And I hope you guys enjoyed your New Year's as well. But that is it for me. And as always, I wish you guys a wealthy future.